I can't help it.
I know
I
you
can't
can't
help it,
because
Mom.
every single time, every single
I don't
time,
know what it is. I don't know if it's an F sharp, C flat. I don't know what it is. That
every single
gets
time.
every time.
How you doing, Solo?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. It's been a really good week. I'm
Really?
energized. I'm excited
Good.
for this conversation we're gonna
Good.
have tonight.
Me
So
too.
yeah, I'm doing pretty good. And for all you all out there, welcome to Keeping You Wise by Keeping It Real, where we
Oh,
bring authentic and real conversations to fuel the soul that you can share with others. And today is our 19th episode.
is it?
It is. It is our 19th episode, and we're going to be talking about the conference that sparked a movement here in Iowa. And it's what our communities need now and will need in the future. For those who don't know, my name is Paula Bell. I am one of the co-hosts, and I am joined by my other co-host, Solo, also known as Chris Solomon. But before we jump into this topic for the month, I have to give a couple of disclaimers. We are not therapists.
Nope.
And we do not offer any medical advice. We are not trained, qualified, or able to diagnose or treat any form of mental illness or disorder. Some of the topics we have might be triggering, so if you need to step away, we understand that. The purpose of this podcast is to have real and authentic conversations that provides wisdom to all. So please interact with us via chat. We would love to hear your comments. And if you have questions, post them in the chat, as we might actually be able to answer them live.
Mm-hmm.
Also, make sure to subscribe to our channels. You'll hear more about that at the end. These segments typically are aired monthly, but who knows? If we got something pressing, we might do it more than once. You never know with us, because we go with where the real authentic conversations are.
Right.
So, Solo, who we got joining us today?
I'm pretty excited because,
All right.
Paula, I haven't seen you as amped up as you have been since this thing went off. And today we're joined, by Corey Dion-Lewis, who is the co-founder of My City, My Health. So welcome, Corey. Let the audience know a little bit about you. Where you got that sweet lighting system, the good mic. You got all the setups, man. I'm trying to be like you.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, guys. Thank you so much for having me on your platform tonight.
Yes, tonight. So, Corey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Corey Dion-Lewis. I'm I'm a father. I'm a husband, man of faith. I'm a public health strategist, media creator, and the co-founder of My City, My Health, and the founder of the Healthy Project. So, all in all, my work intersects between prevention, culture, and community, and I focus on making health equity practical and human. So, and I host the Healthy Project podcast, and I produce short form content that I try to translate public health into stories that people can recognize.
That's cool.
I love that. So, Corey, for those who may not know, what is the heart behind My City, My Health? How did this movement begin?
Yeah, that's a good question. Really the heart of My City, My Health is the community. It is a community centered approach to our conference. We want to make sure that those that feel like they don't have a voice, or the topics or the kind of the health conversations that they don't feel like they belong in, that they do belong in, they show up. So that's the heart. The heart is the community that we're trying to serve.
I love that.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, first off, Corey, I appreciate you because I'm already learning all kinds of stuff. I got a couple of lights coming. I got a new tagline. Tell me a little bit about yourself. You said a father, husband, and a man of faith. I love that intro, man. And you just starting this movement, it seems like a big deal. But like if you don't mind me asking, like what are some of the biggest health equity gaps that you saw that really kind of pushed you into this line of work? You know what I mean? Because I could assume this is a lot. It's a lot to bear. I mean, you already father, husband, and man of faith. Those are three big stones right there. So to pick that up, what kind of equity gaps did you see? What pushed you?
And so, yeah, and with the gaps that you see are all of the gaps. So like there's no there's not one gap that is more important than the other. So the education gaps, the food insecurity gaps, all the gaps you can think of are very important for one's health. So looking at the time when we had the idea for My City My Health, um I was working at a safety net hospital here in Polk County. So I was working, I was a patient centered, I was a clinical health coach at the time. So I was working with the individuals that were going through these inequities. So
Right.
I was seeing patients that didn't have transportation. I was seeing patients that were food insecure but had an A1C of 11 and still
Oh,
needed to improve their health. I was seeing those patients that you know their significant other, or they had a job that was well below um livable wages, but still had hypertension, still had to figure that out. So I'm seeing all of these things. um the past 8 years I was there.
yeah.
So when you see those things, and then stacked on top of that, I witnessed my own mother going through some of those things as well. You almost have no choice but to say, okay, what now? This is enough. How do I act, and what do we do next, and what's within my power? And what was in my power was recognizing not everybody understands these inequities, so we need to educate people, and that's where we started.
So, it's interesting you bring that up, because I'm going to bring something up to the stage here, where we're talking about some of the health equity gaps in Iowa, and also just some equity gaps at all. And so, Corey, when you look at this data that's showing up on the screen right now, what resonates with you? What do you see, or as you've been doing this work for My City My Health, what are those things that you want to point out as far as equity gaps? And again, these health equity gaps are in the state of Iowa, so this isn't nationwide. So I just want to be really clear about that as well.
Yeah, the one thing that stands out to me right now are the cancer disparities in Black Iowans. And right now, My City, My Health, we have an initiative. It's called Save the Homies. It is a prostate cancer awareness initiative. For those that are listening, you can go to savethehomies.com. You can learn a little bit more about what we're doing there. But I prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer in the state of Iowa. That's one.
Really?
Two, men of color are 2 times more likely to die from prostate cancer than our white counterparts. And there are
Really?
many reasons for that. Some of them are not educated on what to do, not having a primary care provider, not having access. There are so many different levels to why. Um, so many different levels. So and it's a big deal, especially when when we're thinking about prostate cancer, and it's something that is very preventable. It's
Hmm.
just making sure you're getting to it at the right time, which is, who knows what the right time is. But I
It's
can tell
not one
you
of
right
those
now.
elective things that you want to go in and say, you know what, doc, while I'm here, let's
Yeah,
just, you know.
exactly. There's a lot of stigma behind it, right? Solo, like not everybody
Hmm.
wants to talk about it, right? But when there's a reason why they say black men need to go in earlier than our white counterparts, because we are dying from this, and it is a real thing in our community. So when I look at this, nothing really shocks me. Unfortunately, nothing really shocks me. Looking at this data here, which is very, very great, great information to have. But those cancer disparities are is something that I'm really focused on right now.
It shocks me, Corey. It shocks me. It shocks me that life expectancy for Black Iowans is 5 years less than white Iowans. It shocks me that there's that much cancer that's killing Black Iowans. That shocks me. That's man, that's scary.
Yeah, and it's scary, but when you start asking, well, why when it comes to inequities is a whole that the asking why can be a whole nother episode, because there are so many different levels and layers to why. So it's not just one thing, it's multiple things that will take a multi-pronged approach to tackle. And I'm just one piece of that.
Mhm. Well, how about this one? Look at this nationwide around the health equity gaps in Iowa and in the nation. And I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger so everybody can see it as well. Does anything here resonate, shock you, or anything that we should highlight as we look at this data?
When if there is something I would highlight from this, there's these three pieces. So there's quality of care, racial and ethnic disparities, and there's access, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of them play a huge role in health, in the health of the individual that we're serving in the state of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have to understand is what we're not seeing, what's not written in here, is that racial bias dictates somebody's quality of care. Right? So there are these things that we need to have conversations about, right? Racial bias will limit someone's access to care, because if you're being discriminated against, are you seeking care?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Like there are so there's so much to this, and I love where we're going with this, because it can, we need to really think about where we are now. Let's go back to structural racism, bias, Black communities that live with higher rates of poverty, unemployment, criminal legal involvement, housing instability, all of which increase cardiovascular disease, mental health issues, makes getting care harder. So I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, but when we need quality care, we need to think about those ethnic and racial disparities. And when we're thinking about racial disparities, we need to think about why access is harder, and why is that access harder is limiting our quality of care. So it all plays a part. It's all integrated together.
So wait a minute. I want to have the conversation. I don't want to hold back, because that's what this podcast is about. I want to have the real, authentic conversation. Let's call it what it is. Because here's the problem. We tend to sit here and season words because we don't want people to lean into their discomfort. And I need people to lean into their discomfort, because it is very true, based on how you might look, you are treated differently. And I have stories upon stories upon stories within my own family, immediate and extended, where because of the color of our skin, we were not treated with the same level of respect and courtesy and urgency that almost killed some of those family members due to that lack of attention. So let's call it what it is. I'm not up in here on these video casts trying to make people feel good about themselves or comfortable, because we've been doing that enough. And just because it's not somebody else's reality doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Let's even talk about how our veterans get treated. This ain't even just about race. Let's have that conversation. I had a podcast last year with veterans. They out here dying for us.
That's true.
Putting their life on the line, and we're not treating them right with equity.
Make it make sense.
I can't, because the math ain't mathing.
Math is not mathing.
So let's have the conversation.
One of the things I've just noticed in general is I feel like they don't make doctors like they used to. Is it just me? Or as you go into I'm seeing all of these Ozempic, Tirzepatide, all these GLP-1s and stuff like that. You go out and like fill out an application, and all of a sudden you're getting this expensive drug that no doctor's even oversight and watching you. I go into the primary care the other day looking for something specific, and I have more information on my care than the doctor had on me. And I don't know if that was because of a bias, or is it just because of a, I don't know, like what's happened to the
So
doctor.
there's multiple things. Um I would say this, and this is not me. I'm not a provider savior or anything like that. But sometimes it's not the doctor, it's the system that we're
Mm.
working within.
They're just churning them.
So sometimes I've worked with phenomenal doctors, but when you're stuck in the system where you gotta get that patient out your office in 15 to 20 minutes. You
Got
have
it.
to. It's not like they
Time
don't.
clock.
If we were living in an ideal world where the provider could spend 40 minutes to an hour with the patient to understand what's going on, we would live it that. I'm sure a lot of doctors would appreciate that and do that willingly. Unfortunately, we don't live. Unfortunately, the healthcare system is not set up like that right now. So you're kind of working with that. That's
Yeah.
one. Two, I don't feel like the healthcare system really values, to your point, Solo, you understand your own lived experience and own health data. The healthcare system does not right now really value that to a degree. So I
But they can, but wait, but they can send you a text when you owe them money though.
that part.
I think it's that part in general. Like I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest problem. I think it's the money part. Like to your point, Corey, you got to get someone out of your office in 15 minutes. The only reason why that would be the case is because you prioritize the money over the health outcome. Because there's no doctor in the world that says that if I spend more time with this patient, I'm going to have a better exam, a better health outcome because of that time that I spent than if I were to just push them out the door in 15 minutes. So I think that that's the big thing. It's the money machine. I also think, to your point, that we owe it to ourselves to educate ourselves on things like you just said. Like, did you just say that colon cancer is the number 2 leading cause of black
Prostate cancer.
Iowan death?
Prostate
Prostate?
cancer.
I'm sorry, prostate?
Yep.
That means that we got to know that. We got to get informed on what prostate cancer is, what exams that I need, what I need to walk into that doctor and tell him, and what I need to not walk out unless I get this specialist,
Mhm.
like the specialist referral or whatever it might be. Like we owe it to ourselves to be our own educated individuals walking into these doctors' offices. And that's what I love about what you're doing so much. If there's just one person listening right now that says, man, really? Prostate cancer? That's interesting. Does a quick Google search, Chat GPT's it.
Yep.
Says, oh, I got to get one of them. Yeah, I've been putting that off. You know what? I'm just going to do it. Goes in there and catches it early, save a life. And it's education. It's
Yeah. It's not only education, guys, it is advocating for yourself. There are times, and I've witnessed this, and not only I witnessed this with my own mother, where I was her health advocate in the room, and yeah, she was treated differently because I was there, and I knew what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Right, like I knew what before we got to that visit, 'cause I knew it was going to be a short visit, what we needed to talk about, what needed to happen. Hey, mom, you need to say this.
Yep.
No, we're not accepting that.
Yep.
Right? Not everybody feels that way. They don't feel like they have the power. And I think what I believe, I believe once someone understands the power they have within that visit, we can start seeing some legitimate outcomes from some of these conversations that they're having with their provider. But half the time you're going in there, you're nodding, you're listening to the provider, and the providers is going through their motion because they know they got 5 other patients here. Right. So they're going through it. All right, boom, done. And now you go home, you're on the way home. You're like, man, I should have asked about this. But so, I'm like, same thing with me. Hey, mom, what did the doctor say? Oh, you know what? They told me to do, something. What was something? What are you talking about? Something? What you mean something? I can't go. Well, in like, so why I'm there now, I know what that something means. Not everybody has that advocate that can be there with them. That's why it's important that you start to advocate for yourself and coming to that appointment, that meeting, prepared.
That's you know what else though, I will say this too. So this, you talk about your mom, I'm gonna talk about my daughter for a minute. So my daughter had a medical emergency last year. She had went to urgent care. They didn't run blood work. She ended up not feeling better, ends up in the ER. They run the blood work at the ER to find out that she has a rare blood condition that if she did not get to the ER at the time she did, she may not even be here today, right? So we go through that whole process to get her well, to get her healthy. Then she's sick. And she asked me just a couple months ago, she asked me to go with her to urgent care because she actually couldn't even drive herself to urgent care. She didn't want to take that chance of getting behind the wheel and driving herself because the girl couldn't keep nothing down. And so that's how that particular medical condition started last year. So when we went to urgent care, we get in there and they're saying, well, yeah, there's a lot of viruses going around. It's just a virus, right? I was like, so you all aren't going to take blood work? I don't think that's necessary. Why don't you think that's necessary? Because it's a virus. I said, but if you look at her medical history, she had a blood condition. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the blood work. I don't care if you didn't plan to take the blood work. We getting some blood work up in here today.
That seems negligent to me.
But the thing is, here's the thing. The girl too sick to advocate for herself. She's not feeling well. She can't keep anything down. Her head hurting, she dizzy. She doesn't have she has barely any energy to sit up. She's literally laying down. And sometimes, to your point, Corey, you might actually need to have somebody there with you 100%. Who can advocate for you in those scenarios where you can't advocate for yourself. Because I will point blank tell a physician what needs to be done. I know my body probably better than anybody else. I'm going to tell you, no, something off. Well, no, it's just in your mind. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Something is off. And I'm telling you, I've been fortunate enough to have a doctor since I've been here that actually does listen to me and actually will sometimes tell me, now, Paula, you just being stubborn. You actually do need to do this, right? So he'll get on me for that. But that's a rare, in my opinion, to have someone like that who cares. And this person is not Black. My doctor isn't Black. But I've been fortunate enough to have that. But in more cases than none, that's not the experience. That's not what we go through. I remember my aunt having pretty much a miscarriage and she bleeding in the ER and they just left her out there for 2 hours. Woman done went septic.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And there was just a story about a woman giving birth in the waiting room because they wouldn't listen to her.
That's crazy. Are there health advocates out there like that, Corey? Like, are there people that you can call and say, hey, I know that you're not a medical professional, but I know that you're really good in that waiting room. I know that you're really good in that office when I'm sitting up there on that weird paper step that they put on the thing for everybody, the name blocking no germs. Are there people out there that are, I'm a professional, I will come in with you and I'll make sure that we ask the right questions and that you're set up for success when you can't advocate for yourself, like say Paula's daughter when she's hallucinating because she's so out of it.
Yeah. And I want to say off the top of my head, Solo, I can't think of the name, but I want to say there is an organization that would be a patient advocate. I feel like I've heard, I can't think of it. I will send you guys the link if I think about it. But it doesn't have to be, and that's the great thing about having an advocate. They don't have to be a healthcare professional. They don't have,
Yeah.
they can be, it can be your mama. It can,
Yeah.
like in Paula's
All saving
experience. You're
lives.
right. You know what I mean? All it has to be is somebody that can ask the questions on your behalf,
Yeah.
or be there to help you, or help support you as you ask the questions.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you're getting the runaround, right? So
Cares enough
anybody
to
can
have
be
courage.
that advocate.
I feel like it's a courage thing, right, Paula? You love your daughter so much that you had courage. I don't care if you have all these degrees and all of this experience. I am not leaving this room until I know that you've done everything that you can do, because this isn't just a job for me.
Mm-mm.
This isn't just, I'm going to go home and I'm going to tell my significant other about this, this person who was all upset in the waiting room. This is my loved one. This is my daughter. This is myself. And I need you to do X, Y, and Z, or I'm not leaving. And if you don't do X, Y, or Z, unfortunately, I'm going to go to another doctor. And if X, Y, and Z comes up with I almost died, then I'm holding you accountable. So if you want to be held accountable for something that could be, may not be, you don't think that it's necessary, that's fine. But I need X, Y, and Z done, or you could be in a position where your license is in jeopardy. And I feel like when people hear that, backs start going up straight. Okay, let's run some labs and let's pull a little blood and let's do a little the X, Y, and Z. Because Corey, I have noticed when you ask the right questions, the doctor completely changes. She all of a sudden slows down. Whoa, okay, well, you know what you're talking about. Were you in medicine? Are you doing this? No, I'm just educated. I just chat GPT'd it before I got here. Got the top 6 questions I need to ask you. But they act a little differently when you come in there educated, as opposed to just yes, 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 whatever you tell me.
And you know what? There's a way of telling a patient why they don't need something. And that I've had that experience too with my mom, with a provider that I love till this day. He explained to my mom, this is what's going on, and this is why I think we should do this. This is why we should do this because of X, Y, and Z. And he broke it down in a way where we both were like, yeah, that makes sense, right? And he even showed us in the X-ray. This is this. If providers, doctors, they've been to school, they know all the things, right? So I want to give them their flowers there, but they don't know where they get it wrong is they don't understand lived experience sometimes.
That's a good point.
So being able to explain to someone why you don't think they should have it, not just because I'm the provider and I've done all this schooling, you should listen to me.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of going that route, sometimes we need to slow down and explain. And just being like, no, it's not necessary. Well, you just tell me it's not necessary. It's not telling me nothing. Because I feel like I'm hurting. It's real necessary right now.
Yeah, it feels necessary to me. I never thought about what you said earlier too, though, that a bad experience could stop someone's want to get care. And that could be a barrier. And how many times, that we go in our day to day in prejudice or just perception of the doctor makes that poor bedside manner. It wasn't really poor bedside manner. It wasn't, I just didn't want to explain myself. It wasn't just because I didn't want to validate that person's lived experience. It could have been prejudice, even if it was subconscious prejudice. And that prejudice, that bad experience, that bad bedside manner resulted in, man, I don't know, but my daddy don't ever go to the doctor. Because 25 years ago, he got treated poorly by a doctor, and all of us, he just doesn't want to go anymore. And now I see that, and I don't want to go anymore.
Look, and Solo, to my black men out there listening, just because your friend's homeboy friend had a bad experience doesn't mean you shouldn't not go to the doctor yourself. I had a patient that I had to call. Hold on. I had a patient I had to call. They were due for their preventative services. They were due for their colonoscopy, all the things. Older black man. I said, sir, you're due for your colonoscopy. He was like, oh, no, I'm good. I said, well, explain to me why you feel like you're good. This man said, I kid you not. These were his words. I'll never forget them. My friend went into the hospital and woke up dead.
woke up dead. Like he
Now,
How you wake up dead?
Yeah. He woke up dead.
How
And
you
he
wake
just went
up
back
dead?
to sleep and never
I
woke up
didn't
again.
correct him.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, this is why I think you're what you're due for. This is why it's important. I'm sorry about your friend that he woke up dead. but and he was adamant. Oh, I ain't going to the hospital. Everybody I know go to the hospital, wake up dead. And I'm like, all right, cool. But we have to. I understand that both things can be right. Yes,
Mhm.
someone that you love or know going to the hospital and dying, that can trick like, oh, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it can trigger some of that.
Yeah.
But we have to understand that we're all individual. You still need these services. I don't know that man who passed away, his experience. Maybe he did the same thing. He pushed off preventative services for so long that it was too late, right? I don't know. But we have to, as men of color, take control of our health and not be so fearful of what we're going to learn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I that's so good. And not even just physical health too, right? Like I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
that you experience the mental health just as much, if not even more powerfully than the resistance to physical health. Oh, I'm all right. I'll be okay. It's like, are you really though? Are you really? Like, could you go for talking to somebody, a professional, about whatever is keeping you from these appointments or keeping you from doing X, Y, or Z? Because I know just in my life, I'm pretty resistant to speaking with the counselor. And I know it'd probably be one of the best things. I know I got some childhood trauma, but I don't want to dig it up. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I probably should get my prostate exam. I probably should get my colonoscopy. I just don't want them to dig it up. I don't want to know what they'll find. And that fear of what they'll find will kill you faster than
Mm-hmm.
going to the hospital and waking up dead.
But wait, the wake up dead got me on the floor. But wait, but wait, I have a question though about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chris, you said going to a therapist, counselor, what have you. There's resistance to that.
Mm-hmm.
Can we go a little bit deeper on that? Because I hear a lot of people say, "Yeah, I'm resistant. I have fear." Okay, that sounds great, y'all. That sounds really great and all. But what is the root cause that's really stopping us as people of color to get rid of that stigma that just because you go see a therapist doesn't mean you're crazy?
Yeah.
What is it? What is that root cause?
So there are many causes to this question. So I want to break it down. So the reason and there's some research to back some of this up as well. So there's some reasons why people of color or black people are so resistant to, not even resistant to, but they're just not seeking mental health services as much as others. One, to go back to what you said earlier, Solo, mental health and physical health are like Batman and Robin, peanut butter and jelly, Stockton Malone, like they go hand in hand. So there's not this or that. It's mental health and physical health. It all works together. But when we're talking about mental health services, cost, insurance, geography, Black adults are less likely than white adults to receive mental health treatment, even when they meet criteria for diagnosable condition. Right? Major access gaps. So lower rates of private insurance, higher rates of underinsurance, and living in areas with few mental health clinics or providers make it hard to find affordable healthcare near you. Right? So that's one thing. So the stigma, and there's cultural expectations. So Black families and churches, when it comes to Black families and churches, mental illness is still in 2025 going into 2026 seen as a personal weakness. Right? It is something, it's almost like stay out my business type of energy. Right? Like that stays in the family. You handle it with prayer. I'd say the story all the time. when I was talking to my mom, and I didn't really say any I didn't really say I was sad, but I was like I wasn't feeling right, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, "You talk to Pastor?" First words out of her mouth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now Pastor happens to be my Uncle Sammy, and a pastor, and my mentor in a way, and one of my mentors. But the fact, even if he wasn't my family, she still would have said, "You talk to Pastor, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did Pastor say?" First thing. So because of that stigma, there often is a delay
Mm-hmm.
in care until there is a crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and studies show only about 1 in 3 Black adults with mental health concerns receive appropriate treatment. 1 in 3. So then there's a lack of cultural competent providers. Not every community can have a Kayla Bell Consolver and a Breanne Ward and all the culturally competent providers we have here in Des Moines. And even with all the ones I can name, it still ain't enough.
That part.
Right?
That part.
So, and there is, and they can probably speak more eloquently about this than I can because I'm not a mental health provider, but there is a nationwide shortage of mental health professionals, in Black communities feel that the most. So there are so many reasons why we're not getting those services. I am privileged to be able to say, hey, I have access to that, and it's worked wonders for me. And I talk openly about it. I do I have a podcast called Coffee Can't Fix Everything, where I talk about mental health over a cup of coffee. And I talk about, going to therapy for the first time at the big age of 41 when I first started, right? And having some of those fears to begin with, like, oh, I don't need it,
Right.
I'll just go hang out with the homies. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I had that, and then realizing maybe I should, and gradually after a year and a half of finally doing it, being like, oh, I'm glad I did it now and not just did it at all. But I have to point out that privilege of having that access, and there are people who need it the most that don't have that access.
So if I heard you correctly, if I had to break this down just as some of the major reasons, the major root causes: mindset, systems, stigmas, cultural influence, and access.
Absolutely.
And I'm quite sure that's not all of the barriers either, but that's a pretty good list of the top 5 that come out. And so mental illness is really, really, and the lack of people taking care of their mental health is on the rise. Yeah. And I believe there's statistics to show that too. It's on the rise even with our youth and what we're seeing as impacting our youth and our families and all of that. And it's just not a topic that I think is talked enough in the Black community. And as with support and whatnot, because if you think of a lot of us have a lot of baggage.
Yep.
There's a lot of weight on us for many different reasons. The one word that I always hear, though, consistently in every topic that I've done a podcast on now, that is a barrier, is systems. That's the one that is a constant. And in the top 3, heck, probably top 2. It's probably the top 1. honestly, right? But it's systems. And so we already know that is a barrier. Some of it we can control, some of it we cannot. But the things that we can control, we're not even taking accountability to control in some instances, such as the reason why this conference has come to be in the community is to give that knowledge. And I've watched the caliber of people that you've brought in to be speakers on panels. I've watched the caliber of people you brought in to be vendors. I've watched the knowledge and the information that has been shared. I've watched that the cost of the conference is not even expensive. There's no excuse for access as far as access into the conference. And doggone it, Corey, people still ain't doing right. Understand?
You're gonna You can only do so much, right? You give them all the resources, but yeah, people aren't. We still gotta do what we do, right?
Right.
Like, Solo, before you got on, Paula was telling me about all the 15 things she did within the day, and there's something to the passion of people where it's like, does Paula have to do all those things? No, but she does them because she knows they're necessary.
Yeah.
So there's somebody that may love one of those classes Paula does, and eventually they'll show up because Paula keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going into year 5 of My City, My Health, and there are people who every year say, "I missed you. I should have. I wanted to go. Oh man!" And like, hey, you'll be there when you be there, right? But just
don't wake up dead.
Just don't wake up
dead. That's good. That's good. Corey, I appreciate you consistently showing up. 5 years now. If you take all of the knowledge that you've gathered over the last 5 years, the speakers, the professionals, the people that are really just excellent and masters in these realms, and you wanted to distill that down to like 2 or 3 pieces of advice for the community, what would those 2 or 3 pieces of advice be?
That's a great question. And the answer got clearer this year for me. And it got clearer because of one panel we had this year. It was our civic engagement panel. And throughout our meetings, talk before the conference, we would have meetings, talk about, okay, what are we going to talk about? What do you want to talk about? What's this going to mold into? What do we want to do? It made it very clear to me that everything we've done the past, since 22, our first conference, advocacy is if you want to see something move, you have to advocate for it. You have to be loud. And I think when people hear advocacy, or at least I know I can just speak for myself, when I start really understanding, or before I really knew what it meant to be an advocate, I can call myself confidently now, a health equity advocate. Before I knew what that meant, it made me nervous because it felt like I had to do something so big.
Yeah.
And what this panel made me understand is when we're trying to advocate for better healthcare systems, better whatever, it can really start with helping your neighbor. It can really start by going to the library. It can start by going to a school board meeting. There are little things we can do to get the ball moving and rolling, right? We're all busy people. We all have crazy lives. And to think that we're going to save the world is unrealistic. But you can save your world, right? I can do what's best for my small community right now, and that was doing a health equity conference, right? For me and Larry Twitty, that was doing a health equity conference. That was the role that we planned. We wanted to highlight the people in our community doing great work. We wanted to spark these conversations. We wanted to spark ideas and networking and connection. So 2 people who didn't know each other can go and do something great. That was where we started at.
And honestly, Corey, that's not where you started at. Now that I'm sitting here listening to you, you started in that doctor's office with your mom, advocating for her to make sure she was okay.
Word.
And realizing that, hey, more people need this, and probably found a person that had like-minded ideals and said, let's start something. So that little small act grew and grew and grew. And now you just helping your community, it's big. Like for me, as an outsider looking in, that's big advocacy. But it started with you just advocating for your mom because you loved her and you cared, and then teaching others how to do it. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for that. But that's what I learned, man. What are you passionate about right now, and how can you advocate for whatever it is? And to your point, who can come along with you, right? Like, who can come along with you? Doesn't got to be a great group of people. It can be one other person. It can be whatever you want it to be, right? But those small things, those small efforts turn into big change. But we got to be patient too. So that's the other thing I learned, right? Like with advocacy, you have to have patience, because as you know, someone who wants social impact yesterday, you got to understand the systems that we're trying to change aren't going to just say, okay, we'll do it. we'll change. Okay, you got me. No, it's gonna take some fight.
These ain't jet skis, they're oil tankers. It takes a while for that bad boy to turn.
Yeah.
You can't just be turning on a dime on these.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And every year, the way you advocate changes, right? Because this year you even did the community podcast.
Yeah.
And I was very honored and humbled to be the host of that. I had a blast. It was fun. It was a ton of fun, just sitting down, listening to the stories. I remember one individual, I believe she is associated with an organization that focuses on heart health, but it's because of a situation with her own son.
Yep.
That she has, that she's experienced. And to have that conversation with her, and for her to actually be transparent and vulnerable, to share that story, knowing that it was either that morning or that week that they had gotten news that wasn't the greatest of news, that they were now going through or about to go through, and to still see her show up and to still advocate for how important it is to take care of your heart. And it was just amazing to have that piece of the conference expand in a way.
That episode goes live on Monday, so y'all check that out on Monday.
Oh, does it? I want to hear, because I actually want to touch base with her and see how her son's doing.
Because that was the second interview, so that's all ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah, those were so much fun. I can't even remember how many we did. Working with your son was comedy as well. He was comedy behind. He had us on lock with that doggone video and camera. Y'all ready?
That sounds like him.
He was so cool, calm, and collected with it. You've done so much with the conference, and to see the support,
y'all,
the genuine support, is amazing.
I want to thank you for your advocacy, Corey. This is really good advice, man. Advocate, because that's the only way change happens. I want to just thank you, Paula. You advocated for me. Like, I wouldn't be here without your advocacy. But I wouldn't be here without you, for real. I was in a dark place, mental health, and I ain't going to no mental health counselor.
Yeah,
too tough, too proud, too whatever. But thank God, at one of these big banks, in a system that was rigged against people that looked like me, I found someone who did and who advocated for me, that told me and convinced me that I was better than I was giving myself credit and stronger than I was acting at the time. And I have built a life around that advocacy. And I'm not saying you're the only one that pulled me out of the darkness, but you're a big reason why I'm here. So that advocacy, even just starting small in a mentorship, starting small into, saying, giving someone the courage to go to the doctor, or giving someone the courage to speak up for themselves, or giving someone the, just faith in their own somebodyness that they could make it through whatever they're going through.
Absolutely.
Those small steps are what change the world, and they grow into these big things. And before you know it, you'll be having a My City, My Health conference and saving probably thousands, if not tens of thousands of lives. Like my
absolutely.
And with that advocacy, there needs to be a lot of honesty too. So one of the things, Chris, I remember when we were having conversations is I point blank told you, because of where I was in the organization and leadership, I said, Doc, they are actually plotting for your downfall.
Yeah, you ain't gonna.
So you need to move.
Get out of there. I don't want. Yeah, I wish I could tell you otherwise.
Yeah, I had to be right. I had to be honest with you. I said, after what you just told me and what I'm seeing, they plotting for your downfall. So we know this, so we're gonna have to strategize and move a little different so you can control that so that they don't get you. So with that advocacy comes honesty. Sometimes you have to be open to hear the things you just don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Right. And so go get your tests done. You know, my doctor be on me for my mammogram. He's like, have you gotten it yet? What you waiting for? Okay, let me go ahead and just schedule that now.
Mm-hmm.
He'll just schedule it.
Excited for that, Paula. What do you mean? Hey, hold on. Let me put you on the schedule right now. Hold on.
Well, you know, but I'm gonna tell you why because for a Black woman, breast cancer is very high.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at that age now where they actually lowered the age to when you should actually start getting your mammograms. From when I started, and he was like, you know, you have to, because of your race or your ethnicity, you have to start early. Mm-hmm. He said, I just prefer it that you start early. And I mean, again, you need to have those doctors that will tell you like it is. Yeah, he's got to tell you like it is. And then he's like, there's no reason why you haven't scheduled this yet. So let's just go ahead and schedule it right now and just get it done.
I got my calendar up.
Right. Yeah. Right. So Corey, before we wrap up, is there any last closing thoughts, anything you would like to say? And also let people know how they can stay connected with you and how they can find out more about the Healthy Project, about Save the Homies, about all of that good stuff you're doing.
Yeah. So first I want to thank you guys for having me on your podcast. It is always, I don't know how y'all do live episodes. This is nerve-wracking as all get out.
Really?
But, oh my God. Look, I got multiple podcasts too, Paula, but you know what? I edit mine.
That's what I'll say, Corey. The nerves are worth it because it avoids the I would say the you know what of editing, because you know that ain't fun. You in there for hours chopping and screwing and using AIs and grabbing clips. Later for that, man. Just hit record.
Yeah. So I appreciate the honest conversation we had tonight. So thank you so much. If anybody listening or watching wants to connect, it's Corey Dion-Lewis on all social platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You can catch me there. Healthy Project Podcast is available on all major audio platforms and YouTube. I put the videos out on YouTube on my Corey Dion-Lewis page. But yeah, Save the Homies. Go to savethehomies.com. I post a lot of educational articles on there around prostate cancer. You'll stay informed on the documentary that's currently being filmed titled Save the Homies. And also go to healthyproject.co. That is my Healthy Projects, my public health media company. That's where I post my podcasts and other videos and blog posts as well.
Amazing. Before I pass it over to you, Chris, to take us out for this particular episode, I just want to give, of course, my final thoughts here. So before we close out, I just want to leave everyone who's listening with this, or if you're going to be listening later, every movement begins with a moment of truth, a moment of clarity, a moment when someone decides enough is enough. And today was one of those moments. The conversations from My City, My Health are not meant to stay inside those conference walls. They're meant to move through us, inspire us, and challenge us into action. So let's be the generation that doesn't just identify the gaps, but actually fills them. Let's be the ones who lean in, speak up, and protect the health and dignity of every single person in our community. This time, Solo, I'm going to pass it over to you to take us home as I show how you can stay connected with us and keep notified, I guess is the best word, of whenever we go live. Because, I'll be going live all the time, all over the place. So,
you're on all the casts.
But take us home, Chris, and this is how you can follow us on social. What you got to say, Solo?
So that's a wrap. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves. We thank you for engaging, for listening, for commenting, and let's keep the conversation going, right, team? Let's keep the conversations going in the channel, in the chat, on the socials. So please follow Paula on all of the socials if you could pop it back up, because she is on all the socials. and she has fantastic podcasts and conversations everywhere. So follow Paula Bell first and foremost on all of her socials at BA Martial Artist, Paula Bell CBAP on Facebook, and Ninja_P_Fitness on TikTok. And you could follow us by keeping you wise, by keeping it real on YouTube. Paula at Life Coach Sensei on YouTube. And your boy Solo doesn't really have a YouTube. So you can go on there. And I think I might have like one World Star video or something I have saved. Nothing crazy. But thank you, Corey. Thank you, man. It's a pleasure. And you're doing God's work. You said that
Hey, I
father,
appreciate
you're a
it.
husband, you're a man of faith. You're also a friend. And I am glad to know you, sir.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. Truly.
All right, everyone. Remember,
All right, y'all.
Each one,
Yes.
reach one, and
Yes.
teach one. Because when you know better, you do better. So let's continue to do better. Love you all.
And that's a wrap, y'all. We'll see you next month.